It's January 15th here in Seoul, and I'm Kim Dami. We begin with these stories making the headlines at this hour, starting with North Korea's ballistic missile launch over the weekend. The North claims to have successfully test-fired a solid-fuel intermediate-range ballistic missile. South Korea, the U.S. and Japan slammed the launch, saying the more provocations from the North, the stronger the trilateral cooperation will be. Hamas says the fate of many Israeli hostages held by the group is unknown because of Israeli attacks on the Gaza Strip. And the White House says it is the right time for Israel to scale down the war. The South Korean government and the ruling party over the weekend laid out measures to support people's livelihoods out of the Lunar New Year holiday next month. That includes extending an electricity rate freeze for over 3.6 million vulnerable households. North Korea announced a few hours ago that it was a solid-fuel intermediate-range ballistic missile that they fired on Sunday, and that the launch was successful. And the North's top diplomat, Choi Sun-hee, is reportedly on her way to Russia. Our Peunjia leads us this morning.
North Korea state media claimed Monday that it successfully tested a solid-fuel intermediate-range ballistic missile, carrying a hypersonic warhead the day before, as part of the regime's regular activities to develop its weapon systems. It said the test firing did not affect the security of neighboring countries and that it had nothing to do with any situation in the region. The North fired the missile toward waters off its east coast at about 3 p.m. on Sunday afternoon. The South Korean military assessed that the missile, launched from an area near Pyongyang, appears to have been an intermediate-range ballistic missile that traveled about 1,000 kilometers before landing in the East Sea. It added that it shared information on the missile with the U.S. and Japan, and that it's analyzing further details of the launch. In the meantime, the top nuclear envoys from the three nations held a phone call on Sunday and strongly condemned the launch. They said the latest launch has once again shown that North Korea's illegal provocations are the causes of instability in the region, and warned that the security cooperation between the three countries will only become stronger as the regime continues to engage in more provocations. Sunday's missile launch comes about 2 months after the North claimed to have successfully tested new solid-fuel engines for intermediate-range ballistic missiles. Solid-fuel-powered missiles are harder to detect than liquid-fuel ones, and intermediate-range missiles have a maximum range of 5,500 kilometers, which means they're capable of striking U.S. military bases in Guam or Okinawa in Japan. Meanwhile, the North also announced that its foreign minister, Choi Sun-hee, will be visiting Russia. Its state media said Sunday that her visit will take place from Monday to Wednesday, at the invitation of her Russian counterpart, Sergei Lavrov. The two isolated governments have been forging ties, following a rare summit between their leaders last September. Officials from South Korea and the U.S. have said the North appears to be supplying military equipment to Russia for use in its war with Ukraine, while Russia was providing technological support for the North satellite and missile programs. Arirang News.
Hamas says the fate of many Israeli hostages held by the Palestinian group is unknown due to the deadly Israeli offensive on Gaza. According to Hamas spokesperson on Sunday, many of the hostages may have already been killed, while the rest are in imminent danger every hour. In a recorded speech marking 100 days since the armed conflict began, the spokesperson stressed that Israel is fully responsible for the safety of the hostages. Meanwhile, Washington again pressured Israel to switch its military operations to low intensity. White House National Security spokesman John Kirby said Sunday that now is the time to make the transition, adding that Israel has taken several proactive steps to achieve this, including reducing its reliance on airstrikes and withdrawing some of its troops. Security officials from 83 countries have gathered to discuss peace in war-torn Ukraine. The fourth such Ukraine peace talks were held on Sunday in Davos ahead of the World Economic Forum. They called by Ukraine to promote its peace formula, which includes the full withdrawal of Russian troops from its territory. But Russia was not invited. Ukraine highlighted the positive sign that more non-Western states like India, Brazil, and Saudi Arabia participated. But China declined to attend and the talks saw limited progress. Ukrainian President Zelensky will speak at the World Economic Forum and likely to hold separate meetings with leaders. After winning Taiwan's presidential election, President-elect Lai Ching-te called for independence for the island state, potentially sparking further tensions with China. Now, Washington welcomed Lai's victory, saying it demonstrated the power of democracy and the electoral system. Lee Seung-jae has more.
After winning Saturday's presidential election, Taiwanese Vice President and now President-elect Lai Ching-te described his win as a victory for the community of democracies, adding that the Taiwanese people have successfully prevented intervention by external forces through their actions. Lai made no direct reference to China. During his victory speech, he further stressed that the election results highlighted Taiwan's choice of democracy over authoritarianism, and that he would walk side by side with democracies from around the world, expressing his inclination toward independence for the island state. In another reference to China, Lai said that the election results showed that Taiwan had successfully resisted efforts from external forces to influence the election. Washington responded to the election victory for the pro-American candidate, with U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken congratulating the Taiwanese people on President-elect Lai's victory, saying it demonstrated the power of democracy and the electoral system. He also added that the relationship between the United States and Taiwan will deepen through democracy. President Joe Biden, however, said Saturday that the United States does not support the independence of Taiwan. The U.S. is expected to unite more strongly with Taiwan in the future in the economic and security fields to keep China in check. The president-elect's push for Taiwan's independence, combined with closer security ties with the U.S., could potentially spark further tensions between Taiwan, China, and the U.S. 64-year-old Lai secured over 40% of the votes on Saturday, beating out new Taipei City Mayor Hu Yu-ih of the main opposition Kuomintang and Ko Wen-je from Taiwan's People's Party. Lee Seung-jae, Arirang News.
Lai Ching-te, Taiwan's current vice president, will be leading Taiwan for the next 4 years. And China was quick to call the U.S. gravely wrong for congratulating the new leader. For more, we turn to Professor Min Jung-hoon this morning. Thank you so much for joining us.
Good morning.
Professor Min, Lai was China's least preferred candidate, which is probably why the Chinese Foreign Ministry said after the vote that no matter whatever changes take place in Taiwan, the basic fact that Taiwan is part of China will not change. Lai's victory is unlikely to improve Beijing-Taipei ties, is it?
Yes, I agree with you. As you know, it has been known that Beijing wanted the opposition party, Kuomintang, to win the presidential election because it is more pro-Beijing than the ruling party, Democratic Progress Party, DPP, which is more pro-Washington. So I think that Beijing feels uncomfortable about the outcome of this presidential election. Of course, it is likely that Beijing will watch what political rhetorics and policy orientations the incoming DPP government will actually show in terms of the relationship between China and Taiwan. And it is likely that the incoming president, Lai Ching-te, is handing down his predecessor's stance about Taiwan's independence, and it will be leaning toward the United States. So it will not take a long time before we can see that the very clear the policy and the political orientations of the new Taiwan government. And it will definitely make China uncomfortable, and China will continue to put political and economic pressures against the new Taiwanese government. So I think that it will not easy to see any improvements in China-Taiwan relations in the coming months.
Right, not in the near future. Now, following Saturday's election results, Washington congratulated the new leader, but U.S. President Joe Biden said his country does not support the independence of Taiwan. Professor Min, what does that mean?
Yeah, so basically, I think that Washington welcomes the outcome of this president election because it can have a pro-Washington government at least 4 more years. But it also needed to consider its relations with Beijing, and it does not want to provoke or make any unnecessary political tensions or conflict with Beijing by making any provoking, irritating the comments about China and Taiwan relations. So I think that President Biden said that U.S. does not support the independence of Taiwan. Meanwhile, it is expected that Washington will maintain favorable relationships with the new Taiwanese government by sending big diplomatic delegations to the inauguration ceremony of the new president and continue to provide military weapons to Taiwan. And it will also try to maintain good business relationships with the TSMC. So it means that we will see the continuing political and economic tensions or conflict between U.S. and China over their relationships with Taiwan.
Definitely. So Washington is happy that Lai won, but still walking on eggshells because of its ties with Beijing. Like you mentioned, what many experts are concerned about is that the Taiwan election results will definitely intensify between the tensions between the U.S. and China. Let's talk more about that.
Yes, as I mentioned a moment ago, we will witness continuing the tensions or conflict between U.S. and China over Taiwan issues. But personally, I don't think that it will make U.S.-China relations much worse in the short term. As you know, Taiwan issues are one of the vital national issues that China has, and Washington is also well aware of it. So Washington will not cross the red line, like ignoring one China policy and supporting Taiwan's independence. Well, of course, Washington will fully take advantage of the Taiwan issues strategically. And recently, U.S. and China, the two countries restored the hotline and the communication channels between their military authorities. So it is likely that they will manage their relationships because they do not want to face extreme situations between them. So I think that the status quo over Taiwan issues like political and economic tensions or conflict between U.S. and China exists, but they do not want to go to extreme. So such a situation will be maintained in the coming months and years.
I see, but the thing is, heightened tensions between Washington and Beijing could also lead to instability in Northeast Asia. What would that mean for the Korean Peninsula on the security front, especially dealing with North Korea issues?
Yes, basically, there is always a possibility that heightened tensions between U.S. and China could lead to instability in the Northeast Asia because they are very important major players who can make a huge impact on the security situation in the region. And some people argue that U.S. will be more focused on Taiwan issues than North Korea if it faces heightened tensions with China over Taiwan issues. It is mainly because Washington is more interested in tracking the rise of China than dealing with the North Korean problems. But personally, I don't think that the U.S. will put less importance in North Korean issues because at least it is directly related to the security situation of the U.S. most important two regional allies, South Korea and Japan. And North Korea's growing nuclear and missile capabilities are threatening South Korea and Japan, and North Korea's military threats have been the major motivation to improve the bilateral and the trilateral cooperation among South Korea, U.S., and Japan. So I think that U.S. will continue to make a consistent effort to work together with South Korea and Japan in order to cope with North Korea's growing military threats.
All right, Professor Min, thank you so much for joining us all the way from Indonesia this morning. You have a great day.
You too. Thank you.
With the upcoming Lunar New Year holiday season, a slew of measures are being introduced to help ease financial burdens. Exemption from electricity rate hikes, reduced interest payments, and discounted food prices are some of the benefits that people can enjoy this year. Here's our Moon Hae-ryun with details.
As part of efforts to support people's livelihoods this year, South Korea will be extending its electricity rate freeze for vulnerable groups. This, along with other measures, was discussed during a meeting of senior officials from the government, the presidential office, and the ruling People Power Party on Sunday. Around 3.65 million households will be eligible for the extension of the year-long rate hike freeze, which was implemented after the government raised electricity prices last May. Next month, around 400,000 small business owners and self-employed workers will be able to enjoy reduced interest on loans from non-bank financial institutions. This means that they can save up to 1.5 million Korean won, or more than $1,000 on interest payments. With these measures coming just ahead of the Lunar New Year, which falls on February 10th this year for South Korea, the government will also be creating a new fund of just under $30 billion to support SMEs during the holidays. Another group that will be given additional support over the holiday period will be stall owners at traditional markets, with the total value of coupons issued that can be spent at stalls this year raised from 4 trillion won to 5 trillion won, or around $3.8 billion. But it's not just businesses that the government is supporting. People can buy train tickets for KTX and SRT trains at a discounted price for travel between February 9th and 12th. There'll also be a highway toll exemption during the same period. Prices of 16 food items that are typically used during memorial services during the Lunar New Year, such as apples and mackerel, will have bigger discounts. And as fruit prices have been climbing in South Korea, the government will be exempting trade tariffs for more types of fruit in order to import 300,000 tons of fruit and ensure the average price of products related to the holiday is lower than last year. In the meeting, the ruling party also spoke of the need for concrete measures to ease the burden of college tuition fees for students. 문혜련, Arirang News.
Curtains came down on the four-day Consumer Electronics Show in Las Vegas. With AI technology taking center stage, cross-industry collaboration was one of the prominent features at the tech show. Our Shin Ha-young has the highlights.
World-renowned tech show CES 2024 came to a close on Friday in Las Vegas after showcasing a diverse array of technology driven by AI for daily use. According to the Consumer Technology Association, over the course of the week, some 4,300 exhibitors and 135,000 attendees came together for major announcements, product launches, and the opportunity to collaborate. As anticipated with the theme All Together, All On, this year's CES featured AI technology from across a variety of industries. As if to underscore this year's theme, among the keynote speakers was America's biggest retailer, Walmart, participating in CES for the first time, where it described how the integration of AI across its website will be used to study shopper behavior. French cosmetics giant L'Oreal also took the stage, marking the first ever keynote at CES by a beauty company.
We believe that tech can push the boundaries of what's possible, help us improve the lives of consumers around the world, and cater to the infinite diversity of beauty needs and aspirations of every individual.
CES 2024 served not only as a venue for exhibitors to showcase their cutting-edge technologies, but also as a place for collaboration between industries. Germany's automation company Siemens teamed up with Sony to launch a new mixed reality headset equipped with AI this year. Walmart unveiled a generative AI search tool that enables shoppers to search for products by specific use cases instead of one item at a time by combining Microsoft's AI models with its shopper data. Collaboration was easily observed by South Korean firms as well. Samsung Electronics and Hyundai Motor Group have partnered to integrate their platforms to connect living spaces and mobility. It allows users to control things, including starting their car from inside the house or turning off home appliances from the car. Like last year, human security was a key future agenda, indicating that the advancement of technologies represented by AI should be used to solve crises facing humanity. South Korean tech giants LG Electronics and Samsung Electronics have identified security as the foremost task in the AI era, emphasizing the need for strong security against potential threats. CES returns to Las Vegas for 4 days starting on January 7th next year. Shin Ha-young, Arirang News.
Good morning, I'm Kim Jiang, and now we turn over to stories from around the world. We begin today in Ecuador, where police and military on Sunday reportedly freed all prison staff members who had been held hostage by inmates. The Ecuadorian government deployed not only soldiers and police, but even tanks for the national operation. Ecuador's SNAI prison agency confirmed that all 158 guards and 20 administrative staff held hostage at 7 jails since last Monday have now been freed following the security forces' operation on Saturday evening. It also said that 1 prison guard was killed and 1 injured while held captive. Ecuador President Daniel Noboa declared a 60-day state of emergency last week following the national security crisis involving a violent TV station takeover, explosions in several cities, and the kidnapping of police officers. The nationwide chaos followed the escape from prison of Ecuador's most powerful crime boss, Adolfo Macias, of the Los Choneros gang last Sunday. In Denmark, King Frederik X ascended to the throne on Sunday. The new Danish monarch was seen welcomed in by large and admiring crowds who gathered in Copenhagen. The 55-year-old new monarch had his accession publicly proclaimed by the Danish Prime Minister Mette Frederiksen from the balcony of the Christiansborg Palace as per tradition since the Constitution of 1849. King Frederik is taking over the crown from his mother, 83-year-old Queen Margaret II, who signed the declaration of her abdication in a meeting of the Council of State on Sunday after 52 years as monarch. In Colombia, a deadly mudslide has killed at least 34 people and injured dozens. The mudslide struck a road connecting the cities of Quibdó and Medellín on Friday. The governor's office on Choco region said on Saturday that only 17 of the 34 bodies had been identified. Colombian President Gustavo Petro described the landslide as a horrible tragedy, and Vice President Francia Marquez said that a number of people are still trapped under the landslide, including several children. Over to Iceland now, where lava from volcanic eruption in the early hours of Sunday morning set houses alight in the fishing town of Grindavik in the country's southwest. The volcano on the Reykjanes Peninsula erupted for the second time in less than a month amid an increase in seismic activity. Authorities evacuated the 4,000 inhabitants of the town the day before, with the town's main road blocked by lava flow. Iceland's Prime Minister called it a black day for Grindavik and a black day for all of Iceland, before adding that the sun will rise again. Sunday marked the 5th eruption on the Reykjanes Peninsula since 2021.
Good morning. Yesterday's wintry precipitation brought a freezing cold air to the country, and sharp winds are dragging down the feels-like temperatures even lower, nearing minus 10 degrees Celsius here in Seoul. Overall, morning temperatures are 2 to 8 degrees lower than the same time yesterday, with a cold wave advisory issued in parts of Gyeonggi-do and Gangwon-do provinces. Bundle up and stay safe on the roads. Figures will stay colder than norms today and into tomorrow morning before easing off from tomorrow afternoon. There will be a huge drop in afternoon highs as well, 1 to 10 degrees lower this afternoon, topping out at just 1 degree Celsius here in Seoul, Daejeon at 4 degrees. But sunny skies are in the forecast nationwide with decent air quality. After the cold snap eases tomorrow afternoon, there will not be a major cold snap this week. Meanwhile, east of Gangwon-do and southern provinces could receive a wintry mix at the end of the week. That's Korea for you, and here's a look at the international weather conditions.
We thank you for watching New Day at Arirang. We'll be back tomorrow for Tuesday's edition at the same time, 9 a.m. Korea time.